Hello, everyone. Once again, this is Dare to Speak. I've mentioned before about all the strange things that happened when I lived in supposedly what I thought was a haunted house. And the weird thing is, regardless of all the scary things that happened, I noticed one thing that didn't make sense to me at first when I first thought about it and I tried to analyze, I tried to make sense of it and stuff like that. It took some years for me to come up with an actual answer which which made sense to me. And that is, my grandmother was very religious with her Christianity. And as I was growing up, when I started to realize a lot of the scary and fucked up things that she did, even my mother and my siblings at one point were wondering how in the hell could she be so religious in Christianity and then be involved in this um, dark, evil Masonic order at the same time, and to do all those things that she did all those years. Back then, I couldn't understand it. We couldn't understand it. And now I understand it, why. And again, not to get anyone angry, because I did say already more than once about how God and Satan are actually just pretty much a false front to what's really going on. How they use a myth to cover up what they really are involved in. Of course, obviously she was a fake, and as far as how so-called righteous, or what kind of so-called humble person she thought we all thought she was, but she wasn't. And even though my mom went through a lot of verbal abuse from her, she still clinged to the idea that her mother must love her. But she had mixed feelings. Because my grandmother tried to kill my mother in more than one occasion. More than once, she tried to kill her. But of course, it didn't compare to the abuse that my grandfather did. He was a lot worse. And the thing is, a part of her, even though she hated what her grandmother did, she didn't because she really didn't love her to begin with. But there was an actual reason why she went through all of this. And then now it happened to us, me and my brothers, and a bunch of other crazy shit that happened. But the thing about it is, what I found very weird was how, like, whenever we would freak out and see things, like when we saw elves and goblins, especially me, and my older brother would freak out and cry, saying, I saw the devil, I saw this, or I saw whatever in the window, and whenever he would get freaked out, because he did have an imaginary friend at first, and then later when it became more disturbing, well, especially when he started to show his true self, this thing. My grandmother would try to use like for those of you who know about Hispanic type of uh, witchcraft of some kind of thing or whatever she was doing, how they combine it with Christianity or maybe Catholicism, I don't know, that kind of thing. She would use eggs and she would like, make the sign of the cross and say, Padre, Hijo, Espíritu Santo, and all this kind of crazy shit. Try to do a blessing over him and this and that. And my grandmother would have like rosaries. She would have pictures of Jesus and just one famous picture of praying hands. Like in prayer like that, and then a big church kind of picture and a bunch of other stuff. But and then we wonder how can she actually be involved in all those stuff and then be supposedly a devoted Christian, that kind of thing. And the thing about it is, again, not to offend anybody, but in my honest and strong opinion, Christianity is actually in. It's kind of hard to explain, but it does have its ties into evil Masonic orders. The true teachings of Jesus, the real Jesus, not the fake one that they betray him in the Bible. I mean, some of it was actually true, but a lot of it wasn't. Most of it wasn't. But his true teachings were actually distorted, and they're very hard to find and that kind of thing. There's some information, but majority of Christian beliefs or the religion itself has very strong ties to dark, evil Masonic orders because it's kind of hard to explain. But the thing about it is, she would do some very crazy and bizarre rituals whenever we would freak out. And some of the things that she would do, it did help, somewhat to calm us down. But I think the word you would use is unorthodox. They're very strange. And at the time, my mother didn't think anything of it or that much of it. But my grandmother would use these type of weird, strange type of ceremonial rituals to cover to make us feel better and stuff like that. But what she was really doing was covering her tracks of what she did. That's what she was doing. Whenever something scary would happen to us in that house, whenever my brothers or I would freak out, especially my older one, my grandmother would be in her room by herself. The door is locked, and we don't know what the hell she was doing. And it happens every single time when a real serious incident would happen. And then she would do something to calm calm us down. And we thought that she was just helping us. But in reality, she wasn't. She was just covering her tracks. There's something in ritual magic that helps to calm somebody down. It could be used, for good, obviously. And this was also, and the way she was using it was the way of just calming us down and say, "Don't worry, just do this, just whatever, and I'll help you take, I'll help you make you feel better." These weird, strange things that she would actually do, and it involved a certain type of metal, and when she uses it, it actually um, it actually helps. And when I started to do more research on this particular thing, on what she actually did, it started to make sense to me. It's kind of hard to explain because there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of ways of having to explain it. But the thing about it is, she would actually use it to her advantage. She actually had the power to have these particular creatures that were haunting us or whatever, to have them to keep them in check. She was extracting a great deal of negative energy from us, from the family, and that's why even after all the sick things that she did to us and all the horrifying things that we went through, she still wanted to be near us and things like that. And even when she couldn't live with us anymore and she lived in another state for many years, she would always try to find an excuse to be with us. And that's in one time when she was really 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 old and she was asking for help, and the nerve of what she even went as far as to do is to ask to live with us, knowing that first of all it could never happen. There's no room for her in the house we lived in to begin with. And then my mom ripping and tearing the letter and saying, "I don't know her. I don't know that fucking bitch." And then she started, and she said she fucked my kids. She did this and that, and then she just went. My mom just fucking went off and started smashing things in the house because that's how fucking betrayed she was. That's how the betrayal. And then my grandmother had no fucking shame whatsoever. No fucking shame. And that was it. She just didn't bother to even write back or to say anything. And it was a real intense moment. My grandmother was really psychotic. And one day I'm going to explain to all of you how and why she got involved in that to begin with. Because I already found out, I already know. But I just don't want to talk about it right now. But I will, in the near future, I will talk about it. And the reason why she got involved in it and how it happened is something that makes logical sense. Because when you have a fucked up childhood and you get influenced by and you get angry at life and stuff like that, You're gonna do stupid things. You're gonna do crazy things that you're probably not gonna regret, because your mind, because that person's mind, after so much abuse, gets too far gone, and that's it for them. That kind of thing. Oh, anyways, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Questions or comments, you know what to do. And this is Dare to Speak. And to all of you, take care.